and it has, probably one of the sexiest bodies ever built by a British coach builder on it, is not the Blue Train. So the Blue Train bet took place between Barnado and an associate in late 1929, where Barnado bet 200 pounds, which would have been the equivalent of about $25,000 today, that he could beat the Blue Train from Cannes to the Royal Automobile Club in Pall Mall, and he would beat it before the train arrived in Calais. And he did do that. He beat this train to its destination in a Speed 6. But what is an interesting part of this story is the car that everyone refers to, or most people refer to as the Blue Train Speed 6, which is probably one of the most devastating cars from that period that was built by a British coach builder. It is a very low, sleek, fastback coupe. It was a one-of-one that was specially built for Wolf Barnado. It's interestingly a three-seater. It has two seats facing frontward. It's so low in the back that it has a bucket seat that faces to the side, because you can't have any kind of bench seat because it's that low. That car, interesting enough, that everyone has for years and years and years referred to as the car that beat the Blue Train, is not the car that beat the Blue Train. And it was famously painted by a famous artist in a scene with it racing a train. This information came to light many, many years ago by a researcher by the name of Dr. Claire Hay. She is the foremost authority on vintage Bentleys, and she was asked to do some research on the Blue Train for its owner, a very prominent collector. And so she was going through the car, and she realized that some of the dates just didn't add up. The fastback Blue Train coupe, which had been for years and years and years referred to as the car that beat the train, wasn't even off road test or out of the coach builder at the time the bet happened. So she puts this whole story together, and the collector at the time was hearing about this, and he went on a mission to find Wolf Barnado's other Speed 6s, because Wolf Barnado owned a lot of cars. He was buying cars to keep the company afloat. He had enough money to do that. In fact, his entertainment budget in US dollars at that point in time was $10,000 a week, and that was just for entertainment. So he was a man of means. But eventually, the car that is the Blue Train is tracked down in England. And interesting enough, it's owned by another Bentley collector. I would assume he was also aware that he might have had the real Blue Train, because I met the man. He was a very smart guy. He could have read the dates and everything else. But he had had the car for many years, and in fact, the car had lost its original body. The original body was actually on another chassis. So there was this very complicated kind of series of purchases. That car, the Blue Train, which was just the chassis, was purchased by the collector who has the fastback coupe. He also tracked down a standard 6.5 chassis, which had the original body for that car fitted to it. He bought both cars and reunited them. So what is very interesting is that the Blue Train, which for years and years and years everyone has said that's the Blue Train Speed 6, and it has probably one of the sexiest bodies ever built by a British coach builder on it, is not the Blue Train. In fact, the Blue Train is a very standard, sedate-looking saloon that has been displayed alongside that car at numerous concours now. But it's one of those things where the looks sometimes create the legend, where everyone saw that car that looks like it's going 100 miles an hour standing still, and with Barnado standing beside it, and said that was the car that Barnado raced the Blue Train in, when in fact it was kind of a rather pedestrian looking, kind of boring, standard four-door sedan. Looks and sometimes make values. The gurney nutting, quote unquote, Blue Train special, if you want to call it that, that car is that car. There's only one car like it. The looks of that car, it's as good looking as a Bugatti Type 57 Atlantique. It has a wonderful history, and amazingly, at one point in time, it's a miracle that car survived. because that car was found as a derelict after World War II. The chassis and everything was still there, but the body was in very, very poor condition. And that car was saved by a gentleman by the name of Hugh Harbin, who bought that car and actually had the foresight. No one would have blamed Hugh at the time he bought that car if he would have just Le Mans repped it like every other car. No one would have had a problem with it. But Hugh had the foresight to realize that was a historically significant car, and he restored it and he saved it, which it's one of those things that car survives because of that. So it would have been a little bit of a crisis for the owner because he would have been losing that one piece of history. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think he would have been losing much value, because if that car ever sells, if the Reuniting coupe ever sells, it will probably be one of the most expensive cars from the 1920s to ever sell, just because of one, who owned it, two, its design. It's a piece of artwork that you cannot put a value on. Whereas the actual Blue Train car is not the most attractive, very standard looking saloon that in fact Reuniting built many, many bodies that looked exactly like that, and many of them were on vintage Bentleys. And most of them have just been taken off the cars and the cars have been rebodied. It is very important that car actually still survives, even though it went from, the body being off it to the body coming back on it. It's important that car survives now in original condition. So yes, a little bit of a crisis. Really that big of a deal? Probably not in the grand scheme. That car is probably in the $15 to $25 million mark. And I actually hope it doesn't get sold. It's owned by a prominent collector. I've met the man's son. They use the car. They drive the car. They enjoy the car. In fact, at Audrain a couple years ago, when it was basically a hurricane was hitting Newport, they drove that car on the rally and enjoyed it. So in terms of, significant cars with great homes, I hope they never sell it, because it has a great home and a great caretaker. Because at the end of the day, when you're talking about these cars, a lot of them you don't really own. You're just taking care of them. I can't think of a better family to own that car than the ones that own it now.
This month of VINwiki content is brought to you by Bridgestone, and the most exciting news out of Bridgestone is the new release of their Turanza Prestige tire. It is their flagship Grand Touring tire, targeting luxury SUVs, crossovers, and sedans, like a Mercedes S-Class or a BMW X7. And this gives you all the whisper quiet ride that you want in a high-end luxury experience, as well as the wet and dry weather performance that we love from Bridgestone. And you'll get some of the greatest longevity they've ever had on street tires, 70,000 mile limited warranty. So we love Bridgestone for their sports car and supercar tires in the Potenza range. Of course, the Dueler AT Ascent that I've got on my Porsche Cayenne, I absolutely love. But whatever you're looking to find tires for, Bridgestone has something great. So check them out now at the link in the description below to learn more about the Bridgestone family of tires.